little proud to be up here, and to me, it's not who your elected sheriff is that makes the office what it is. It's the ladies and gentlemen behind me that really do that. So the first acknowledgement that I have is for two communications officers. I think the panel of the committee here knows exactly how challenging of a job that is. I've had some acknowledgments in the past where you've heard some of the recordings of kind of the tear-jerking recordings that they deal with. This case is a little different. So I'd like to have Jaden and Samantha come up here, if you wouldn't mind. So immediately to my right is Jaden Wood. He is a fairly new staff member with us. You've been here about 6 months. Is that about right? So during this incident, he was actually training. And then to his right is Samantha Summers. Samantha's been a little over 7 years. Okay. So one of her responsibilities is that of a field training officer. So she was providing the training for Jaden during this incident. So it's a little different than the typical calls that I typically fill you guys in. So I'd like to read this acknowledgement. So this is for Communications Officer Samantha Summer and Communications Officer Jaden Wood. On Saturday, October 5th, 2024, so just last month, Communications Officers Samantha Summer and Jaden Wood were working third shift in the Washington County Emergency Communications Center alongside one other coworker. During this time, Samantha Summer served as a training officer for our newer Communications Officer, Jaden Wood. Whereas shortly after midnight, their coworker began to experience a medical emergency and lost consciousness. Both Communications Officer Samantha Summer and Jaden Wood immediately recognized the extent of the emergency and summoned a supervisor to respond to the dispatch center while simultaneously contacting West Bend Police 911 Center to dispatch West Bend Fire Department paramedics to the Sheriff's Office. Whereas Communications Officer Samantha Summer provided crucial patient information and instructions to the West Bend Fire Department to ensure they could access the front lobby of the entrance to the Sheriff's Office. She then directed Communications Officer Jaden Wood to stand by in the main lobby to facilitate rescue access to the secure portion of our building. Upon arrival, the Sheriff's road supervisor, Communications Officer Samantha Summer, was continually monitoring her coworker and had already placed the patient in a recovery position, and the patient's condition improved due to her medical intervention. And then whereas Communications Officer Jaden Wood continued to maintain all dispatch functions, that's CAD, phone, radio, while simultaneously making phone calls to the day shift communications officers to fill the vacancy created by the medical emergency. The duty road supervisor noted he maintained an exceptional performance level while handling an increased level of responsibility as he completed the duties of 3 communications officers simultaneously. And if I mentioned to you, he was in training at the time. So now therefore be resolved that Communications Officer Samantha Summer and Jaden Wood are hereby acknowledged for their professionalism in performing their duties at an exceptional level during a challenge that was completely outside the course of their normal duties. So today's date, 2024. So I thank both of their dedication and professionalism. So thank you very much, Jaden. Thank you very much, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jaden and Samantha and Sheriff, for bringing their actions to our attention. And the next item, Detectives Jesse Williams and Anthony Conforti.
So the next 2 acknowledgments that I have are I'm recognizing the lead investigators in the case, but just know that both of the cases that we're going to be talking about this session or this agenda item and the next one are work that was completely done by the task force, our major crimes, our drug unit, but I'm recognizing the main investigators. So if I could have Detective Conforti and Detective Williams come up here. So this particular case deals with a overdose investigation, and these are very, very complex investigations. I think DA Benson would agree with me that they pose some challenges in the prosecution in proving some of the elements of the crime. And our drug unit just did an outstanding case assisting the village of Kewaskum on an overdose death that actually occurred last year. So to my right, I have Detective Conforti. He's been here, let's see, is 9 years. Does that sound about right? And Detective Jesse Williams, he's been here almost 25 or a little over 25 years. So, okay, veteran officers here. So this acknowledgement, whereas on November 8th, 2023, so that was last year, the Washington County Sheriff's Office was called to assist the Kewaskum Police Department with an investigation into a suspected drug overdose. Within hours of the call, investigators developed a person of interest with a known history of drug offenses and identified this individual as the last person to see the decedent. This individual was located and interviewed, but denied any involvement in the death. On the following day, Detective Williams and Anthony Conforti located another person of interest in the city of Racine. The detectives conducted a non-custodial interview, which the individual admitted to delivering blue circular pills marked with the letter M and 30 to the decedent on 2 separate occasions, including the night before her death. The individual described the route he and another unidentified accomplice took to Kewaskum from Racine, noting they parked up the street to avoid detection by the victim's family's Ring camera. He further admitted to being the front seat passenger in a rental car. After a custodial interview, this individual identified the co-defendant and provided additional details about the drug transaction, including the fact that he was paid in pills for facilitating the deal. He was arrested and charged with delivery of narcotics and reckless endangerment of safety. Whereas the investigation continued into the prime suspect, Detective Jesse Williams identified the suspect's Facebook account under a fictitious name, which led investigators to an associated business. Upon researching the business's page, they found a phone number that matched one in the victim's phone log. Search warrants were obtained for electronic records, which helped establish a direct link between the primary suspect and the victim. Whereas Detective Anthony Conforti re-interviewed the victim's family and discovered crucial ring footage from 3 days prior to the overdose, which showed the victim leaving her residence and walking west. A minute later, an SUV was seen driving east. Detective Conforti responded to a nearby gas station and obtained videos showing the same vehicle pulling into the pumps shortly after it had been seen leaving the victim's home. The vehicle contained 4 occupants, including both suspects. Through flock camera footage from the Racine area, Detective Conforti was able to identify the vehicle's license plate and 2 other passengers based on social media research. On November 20th, 2023, exactly a year ago, Detective Jesse Williams and Anthony Conforti responded to Racine, located the primary suspect, and conducted a non-custodial interview. The suspect admitted traveling to Kewaskum on 2 separate occasions to sell drugs to the victim. He was taken into custody, transported to Washington County, and provided further details during the custodial interview. A written statement was also obtained confirming his involvement. Whereas the Washington County District Attorney's Office charged the primary suspect with several felonies, including second-degree reckless homicide. In October of 2024, the suspect pled guilty to second-degree reckless homicide charge and was sentenced to 6 years of initial confinement with 9 years of extended supervision. The second suspect pled guilty to delivery of a Schedule I narcotic and was sentenced to 2 years initial confinement and 5 years of extended supervision. What's important to note here is that both individuals had no previous criminal record whatsoever. Whereas fatal overdose investigations are often complex and difficult to prosecute due to the challenges of gathering sufficient evidence, in this case, 2 drug dealers from the city of Racine traveled to Washington County with the intent to sell fentanyl to the victim. This victim recently moved in an attempt to escape her previous drug addiction and the easy access to narcotics that characterized her former environment. Detective Jesse Williams and Anthony Conforti, along with the critical support of Major Crimes Division and the Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Unit, the Sheriff's Office, deserve recognition for their exceptional work on this investigation. Within less than a year, they successfully identified suspects, gathered substantial evidence, obtained confessions, and secured guilty pleas, which resulted in significant prison sentences for both offenders. This case is a prime example of the effective collaboration that occurs when investigators from multiple divisions work together towards a common goal of justice. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Detectives Jesse Williams and Anthony Conforti are hereby formally recognized and acknowledged for their professionalism, dedication, and relentless pursuit of justice. Their outstanding efforts in fulfilling the leadership direction of the Washington County Sheriff's Office have brought a sense of justice to the victim's family by holding drug dealers accountable for their actions in our community, dated on today's date. So thank you very much, both of you gentlemen. Sure.
Gentlemen, I sense that you're a little bit uncomfortable with being called out and given this level of attention. And you may think, well, I was just doing my job. I was just doing my job. But there are a lot of municipalities, there are a lot of jurisdictions where crimes aren't taken seriously and where law enforcement, for whatever reason, and the citizens of those jurisdictions are willing to let such things slide. Thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your sense of responsibility in following up to see that justice is done. We appreciate that in Washington County, and we thank you for your service. Thank you. Sheriff?
One more?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Absolutely.
So the final one that I have is Detective Tara Ball. Can you come on up here for me? So again, this is a multifaceted investigation, a lot of input, but Detective Tara Ball has been with us for 5 years, almost 6 years, but a wealth of experience before that. She was kind of a lateral transfer to our agency. So this is from the, you'll recognize the case as soon as I start talking about it, but in July of 2023, the Washington County Sheriff's Office initiated an investigation into a staff member at a local hospital who had placed covert cameras inside a bathroom. Investigators responded to the hospital and discovered a camera attached to the underside of a sink in a public bathroom that was primarily used by hospital staff members. Whereas the investigation revealed serious and sexually deviant acts committed by the suspect against multiple victims. Detective Tara Ball was the lead investigator for the Washington County Sheriff's Office. She worked in collaboration with investigators from the City of West Bend Police Department. These crimes spanned over several years and occurred at 2 different locations, one in the town of Polk and one in the City of West Bend. This investigation began in the City of West Bend when evidence related to these crimes was uncovered during an unrelated investigation. Whereas this case posed significant challenges for law enforcement, investigators were tasked with reviewing hours of sensitive surveillance video which depicted potential victims, hospital employees, and patients alike. The case generated extensive media coverage, leading to numerous calls from individuals inquiring if they had been victimized. The investigation required a tremendous amount of time, effort, and Detective Tara Ball worked closely with hospital staff to identify as many victims as possible. And one of the things, just to add to this, is one of the things in our mission statement or leadership direction is that we try not to re-victimize victims when we deal with them. And Major Crimes does this all the time when we're dealing with victims of terrible, terrible crimes. And Tara she's very, very sensitive to that, and she treated these victims with the utmost respect and dignity, and I'm just very, very proud of her. Whereas Detective Tara Ball demonstrated exemplary dedication, skill, and compassion throughout the investigation. She worked tirelessly with other major crime investigators and task force deputies, showing not only passion for justice, but also remarkable sensitivity and care for the victims who had been deeply violated. Her leadership and unwavering commitment to the case were instrumental in bringing the matter to a successful resolution. Whereas, as a result of the thorough investigation led by Detective Tara Ball and the West Bend police detectives, the suspect was charged with 100 criminal counts, including stalking, capturing of an intimate representation, possession of intimate representation, possession of child pornography. The suspect pled guilty to 31 counts and was sentenced to 44 years of initial confinement, followed by 35 years of extended supervision. This significant sentence was made possible by the meticulous and comprehensive work conducted by Tara Ball and her team, who advocated for charges to be brought against the suspect for each victim who desired justice to be served. Now therefore be resolved that Detective Tara Ball is hereby publicly and formally acknowledged for her exceptional leadership, dedication, and relentless pursuit of justice in this case. Her efforts brought a sense of justice to a significant number of victims in our community, and her work embodies the highest standards of service and integrity upheld by the Sheriff's Office. So thank you very much, Tara.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to bring those to your attention.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And Detective Ball, thank you as well. I think one of the key things in what Sheriff just mentioned was bringing a sense of justice. And that really is what law enforcement is all about. Thinking that so that our citizens know, individuals know, yes, in this community, there is justice. When somebody does something wrong, there's justice. Thank you for enforcing that, and thank you for doing it in a way that supported those victims as well and gave them a sense of justice as well. We appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Moving on to item 3D on our agenda, District Attorney Quarterly Report. And for that, we have District Attorney Mark Benson with us.
2 more seconds, guys. If you don't mind. You can. I appreciate it. Please. So this is my last time here. We'll cut to the chase on that. But I just really wanted to just start out with a little bit of how lucky and fortunate that I am. I've been here for 23 and a half years and 14 and a half years as DA. And it's been a pleasure to work with almost everyone here in some various different capacity, and it's just been a pleasure. So I just want to say thank you all. I had never heard that story before for you guys. That's amazing. So you're doing the job of 3 people. I assume that they're paying you 3 times the money. Good, that's excellent. So thank you. And then just with regard to those other 2 cases, I was personally involved with the one with Anthony Conforti and Jesse Williams. I just wanted to add to that I saw them personally, each individually, with the mother of the victim, and the compassion that they showed to her was just unbelievable. And that was just and they put together an amazing case on that. And with regard to Tara Ball's investigation and that other case, that 44-year sentence, I am about 99% certain that as DA that's the highest amount of confinement on a non-homicide case that I recall. It was significant, multiple victims. So I just want to do a shout out to you guys. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you humoring me. So thank you on that. I'm going to circle back to my last time here, but with regard to the quarterly report, the EOS report, and one I want to thank you. I think I was supposed to be on the agenda last month. I was out of town, so I appreciate your flexibility and allowing me to not try to do it remotely. It would have been a pain from where I was at, and to do it here today. So thank you for that. I think generally all of the initiatives and the like are coming along. I'll talk a little bit about the transition, in a moment. But with regard to the goals, I think most of the things are all on task with regard to drug treatment court. We have 14 participants in the program. We've had 4 graduates in 2024, 1 discharge from the program. So I think overall we're increasing the number of individuals in our drug treatment court, and I think that's a positive. It is up and running. I've been involved personally in that for the last 4 years, and I'm obviously transitioning out of that. And we have a couple excellent people involved in that. With regard to another one of the ideas and goals and initiatives is we're looking forward to trying to potentially work with, and it's one of the goals that I think the district attorney's office has that I had, is for some pretrial monitoring services, and along those lines, we now, I think you've heard some talk about working together and getting a criminal justice coordinating committee together, and that is on task. So we're having our first meeting, which I won't be at, in January. So I think that's a positive. That's a step in the right direction to work with some of the things that I think will make our community safer. That will, if something like that goes through, it's going to come at a cost, and there will be some money involved. And I hope that you certainly, when that time comes, that you would consider funding it, allocating resources for that. With regard to just how things are going within the office, there has been, I've been able to work a little bit of machinations with the state with regard to funding of an individual that was on the books with the state is a .4 position. The county was kind enough to allot some money in the past to increase that to a .6. But the reality is that I was able to turn that into a .9 position through some machinations. We didn't have to use any county funds. Now, through some extra machinations, I've been able to turn that into a 1.0 position, at least until July of next year. So that hasn't, money that's been sort of allotted for that has not been used at all. And I am cautiously optimistic that the state in the next budget cycle, as I think you are all aware, that we have this interesting hybrid with the district attorney's office where the state pays for the prosecutors, the county pays for all the resources and office space and the like, staff members, and then roughly 50% of our victim witness. So I'm optimistic that we'll, at a minimum, be able to increase that on the books to a full position. I put in for a little bit more. Maybe we'll even get a little bit more on that. However, if it all falls apart, I hope you guys will be able to do something with that money that was allotted that wasn't really used, so that this person can remain in the position that she's in. She is excellent. So that's my little plug, just planting the seed on that aspect. And then in addition, there was somewhere along the line there was a resolution or some idea that. When became known that I was going to complete my term, that there was going to be some sort of transition, and there was, I think, some money that was sort of allocated to have a bridge period with whoever the new DA would be, and it's Barry Bratz, and that. The good news is we're doing that transition, and the extra good news is we're not using any county funding for that. The DA up in Fond du Lac was kind enough to allow Barry to basically on their dime to come down here, and we have some extra office space. So he's already been down here, and that transition I think is going pretty well thus far. So there's some. I don't know if it's really savings, but it's money that has not, that potentially could have been spent that has not been spent. I have a couple other things that I just wanted to say at the end, but thus far on the quarterly EOS report, do you have any questions or comments for me?
Are there any questions from the committee? I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that, and I guess I just want to just follow up with. I've been blessed to be here for 23 and a half years in total. Last 14 and a half as district attorney. We have great law enforcement in the county as a whole. We have a very strong working relationship with the sheriff's office, and I really appreciate that. And I think I think that will continue in the future. So I feel blessed that I've had good agencies to work for. And then just regarding what my future plans are, I'm not retiring. I feel young and vibrant. I was never my intent to retire. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do, and now after considering a few options. I really enjoy prosecution. So I'm going to continue as a prosecutor. I'm going to take 3 weeks off after I complete my term on January 5th, and then take a few weeks off, and then I'm going to continue to be a prosecutor up in Fond du Lac as an assistant DA. So possibly as a special pros or something, I might be in this building, but I think the office is in good hands. I live in the community. I continue to be, I plan to be active in the community as well. So thank you all. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee or Chairman Schleif? If not,
I'll just add, thank you for your service over the years. You've been a big part of the success of our public safety organization. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
also, I'm not sure if we'll have a formal commendation or anything when you do retire, but we
Complete my term. I'm sorry.
Complete-
Retirement.
I'm sorry,
I'm teasing. Retirement. I'm serious.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for the correction.
I'm sorry.
And we appreciate your diligent service over the years, and in case there is not a commendation marking your moving on, I think you deserve a round of applause from us as well. Thank you. Moving on to item 3E, update for the PSAP grant program for fiscal year 2025.
Good morning. So on October 28th, we were notified by state DMA that we did in fact receive the fiscal year 25 PSAP grant. They did, so we initially put in for that $740,987. We got the whole thing, but within that there were about $32,000 of unallowable expenses. So they gave us the full 740, but in reality, the spending is going to be about 707. A vast majority of that 32,000 of unallowable expenses, about 30,470 of it were items specific to Germantown. And DMA ruled that those were unallowable expenses. So Germantown has been notified of that. But good news for us in moving this project forward. December 1st is when I can start signing contracts and spending the money. So we've been diligently working with our vendors and Bill Kerr to make sure that we're dotting all of our I's and crossing our T's. And so I think we're in a really good shape that come Monday, December 2nd, we can sit down, start signing these contracts and getting this ball rolling. So our goal is to really mash on the gas with this, and it's just a critical component to completing that consolidation with Germantown. And that whole thing is kind of on pause until this project gets completed. So we are committed to stepping on the gas and being off to the races with it so that we can facilitate that consolidation.
Thank you for your diligence in shepherding this through the process and seeing it through to what will be its completion. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
I have a question.
Supervisor Newman.
So this is a grant that we have to pay and then we get reimbursed?
Yeah, so it's a 90-10 split. State pays 90, county pays 10. We have to come up with the cash in advance, and then we seek reimbursement at the end. This is similar to, this will be the third PSAP grant we've applied for and received, and it's kind of rinse and repeat at this point because we're good at it. But yeah, we got to come up with the money first, and then we're reimbursed with it. And so I don't believe we've been reimbursed for the second one or for the fiscal year 24 yet, but the paperwork has been submitted. We've received acknowledgement from the state that yes, in fact, you are going to be reimbursed, but I don't believe we got that check yet. So, and the first grant we have been reimbursed for.
The second part of my question is, so that 740,000 will be absorbed in the sheriff's budget, or are we going to have a budget transfer?
I believe when we came to this committee for the approval to apply for the grant, I think that was included in there, if I wasn't mistaken, was the 10%.
The 10% was, but the 740 originally, or
Yeah, I don't know how that works in past grants. If I don't know where they use that money from. I don't know where it comes out of.
Yeah, it's my understanding We don't need to act on this today because the county board already acted on it when the application was approved. And so how the finance department handles that, I'm not exactly certain, but I agree that was the understanding at that point, that yes, we would have to front the money and then receive reimbursement.
And again, we won't have to front the full 740. I mean, I think there's going to be some overruns, there always is, and so that's why the state gave us more than what we, the true number is about 707, and they said, no, you got the whole 740. I think that is to absorb some of those overruns if there is any. In the past, we had to do budget modifications, and it was kind of a process to get those extra funds. And I think in this round here, they made it a little easier for us to be able to get those funds without having to jump through all those hoops. Should we need them?
Any other questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I'll speak with finance with Aaron Dahl. As we just heard in the district attorney's report, there have been some savings because we put money aside to pay Barry Bratz in a transitionary role. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be money to fill in the holes there. So, but we'll confirm. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate your report.
All right. You're going to do the other two? Okay. All right.
Moving on to agenda item 3F, radio maintenance amendment update. And for that,
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the Public Safety Committee. As Captain Stacer has reported previously, we have extended the radio maintenance contract, and it's an amendment to the contract itself. So we're just going forward with a 3-year amendment that is going to align us with Ozaukee County in their radio maintenance agreement, so that once both are concluded, we can join with them to increase efficiency and economic shared costs. So as a result, and through Captain Stacer's diligence in negotiating that amendment, the previous amendment called for a 3.25% increase annually, whereas this new amendment calls for a flat fee for the next 3 years. So as a result, it'll result in approximately $53,917 in savings over the course of the next 3 years. I'm going to say Captain Stacer's name several times. He's not going to be happy with me, but he is truly Washington County gold. He watches everything. He has a scope that is extraordinary, and he manages it very well. So I give tremendous accolades and appreciation to his diligence in this regard. This radio system upgrade and consolidate dispatch is not an easy task. It's the job of 5 people, and he's managing that alone, along with all of his other capacities.
Thank you for those kind comments, and thank you, Captain Stacer, for your diligence and work on behalf of the county. Any other questions or comments on behalf of the committee? If not, we'll move on to item 3G.
Okay, the radio tower lease update. So there's 2 towers that are going to be defunct come October of 2025, one of which is in the town of Erin, and the other of which is in the town of Farmington. The town of Erin will be in conversation with the Public Safety Committee. Terminating that lease is purely by committee and board action and a 180-day notice, and it aligns very nicely with the cutover in October of 2025. These agreements that we have with American Tower Corporation were signed. Town of Erin was January of 2009, and the town of Farmington was April of 2009. The timing of Farmington is not advantageous for us, because if we were to terminate that lease, it would have been a 180-day notification. However, that was earlier this year, around June of 24. But we still need that tower until October of 25. So the town of Erin works nicely because it's a 5-year consecutive agreement, some 2009, so 2009 to 2014, so on and so forth. So the town of Erin is going to work very nicely, and we'll be able to terminate that lease with simple action by the board. That will save us $4,200 a month in lease payments. As far as the town of Farmington, that one we're going to be stuck with currently. County Attorney Stern and myself will work diligently along with American Tower Corporation to see if there's something advantageous that can come out of it for Washington County. But as a result of the timing of that contract, it just so happens that we have to lease it until the term expires. And that lease agreement is $2,400 a month.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? If not, then we trust you and the county attorney, of course, to do the best that you can for the county, understanding, we have a contract to live with, and anything we can do within the confines of that contract to make it advantageous, we understand you'll be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, the meeting of this committee has been concluded. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 18th at 7 a.m. We are adjourned.